Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's AFK Journey video. So in today's AFK Journey video, I'm going to run through a hero tier list for the content pushing for the closed beta sale testing itself. So there's a lot of units in the game and the game has a lot of contents, which is enough for you to spend weeks on it in order for you to complete it. So I've been playing the game on the Pioneer server for quite a bit, and there's still some units which I haven't gotten even till this point, so there's a lot of them and it's not easy to max them. So in today's video, I'm going to run through a tier list to talk about the units that are better suited for players to push for as much content as possible for the closed beta testing. So this beta sale testing will be a limited time free to play server, so you won't have the advantage to actually spam your pools to get as many units to as high a tier as possible. So some of these units, they could be really amazing into the super late game, but this tier list will be catered towards the early to mid stage where it is very achievable to achieve within the 1 week period of the closed beta testing. So without further ado, let's jump into the tier list itself. Let's go. So I'm going to explain my tier rating. Mostly it's catered towards early game to mid game for the content pushers, at least within the 1 week short period. So we have your top tier content pushers, your strong units. So I'm going to cover more for these two tiers because I want you guys to know why these units are good in this category. So top tier are basically units that are flexible, easy to upgrade, really good for their various contents. Strong units are strong units which are good for the contents, but they're just not as easy to upgrade, or you have better options in the top tier category. So we have niche characters that are good for the different game modes. I'll leave it for you guys to explore yourself. I'll explain a little bit, but not in great details. If not, the video will be very long. And then we have filler units which are simply not good. So I'm not going to talk too much about them. I'm just going to put them there and then say why they're bad briefly. So we have hard to upgrade. So these units are very special units. They are your premium units, Celestials and Hippogriff. So you don't actually get a lot of copies of them. So you might not even be able to access them during the CBT because of how hard it is to unlock their banner. Not too sure how that will work, but they are really good units in the end game. But not something that you will have access to or you will care too much, at least in the first few days or 1 week of the gameplay, right? At least from my experience. So that's why they are Skalita and Barrel. Barrel good for, I'll say, assassination, backline killing for arena purposes. Skalita more versatile for PvE content. So if you do have a choice, this orange lady over here, she's better for most contents. So that's for Skalita. Then let's move to the top tier units. These are the units you want for your content pushing. I'm going to explain why they're good and why you should go for them. So the carries, let's start with the carries. So the carries, we have Eddie, we have Cisia, we have Brion. Lightbringer side, we have Herwin, but I don't see Herwin as a top tier content pushers. So these are your carries of the different factions. Eddie, super amazing DPS character. DOT damage over time stacks up a lot, very good for bossing. And once you're able to get him to the mythic level, he has an insta-kill ability which single-handedly can carry you through many different hard contents, because if you can pinpoint the weak enemies, start building up damage and kill people as fast as possible, yeah, this unit is gonna shine. Like Eddie and Cisia, these two units has been always the top recommendation for whatever you need to go for, because number one, they are very strong, they do a lot of damage. Cisia's gimmick is he summons another golem, which sort of acts like a front line, right? Once the golem comes up, it disables the enemy, and then you have two units on the battlefield doing 2 times the damage. So also very, very powerful damage dealer. So the other reason why they are here is because of how easy it is to get shards for them. So other than the gacha system, you can actually buy their shards from within the shop. So they are very strong units and you can buy them, so you don't get stuck for too long when you're progressing through the story, because you don't want to get tier stuck. Like that will slow you down, so that's why they are here. And for Brion, same thing, amazing single target from the Wildest faction, has a bit of stun and also purchasable from the shop, so easily accessible. So these three, they are the top tier carries for the respective classes, and they are pretty much early to end game characters, right? Even in the Pioneer servers, but in the CBT, they are gonna be pretty good, so top tier. Then for the tankers, Brutus, Granny Danny, as well as Torrent, even to a certain extent, Igor. So these units that are your tankers, Brutus has a 5-second inbound which buys enough time, right, for your backline to do stuff. So if he's tanky enough, he's gonna absorb a bit of damage, and once he reached the death threshold, he'll turn inbound. So can still stay on the front line to buy time for your backline. Pretty good. I use him myself for my main account for content pushing, but he's not exactly the end game character, but it doesn't matter because the progression for this CBT is more so for the early to mid game only. So in terms of content pushing, Brutus is pretty decent. Granny Danny, very tanky, can use the ultimate to disrupt enemies, slow down their ultimate, and also disrupt the enemy by slowing them down from their haste. So does her job really well as a tanker for the Wilders division. Also can get copies of her from the shop, so easy to upgrade as well if you do decide to train her up. Then we have Torrent, one of the best tank. In fact, I'll argue that yeah, he is the best tank because arena wise, 2 lives and with enough stats, this unit is bonkers, and he has a retaliate ability where his ultimate allows him to charge on the spot, take in as much damage as possible, and then reverse counter all the damage back to the enemy. So you can actually result in some cheese strat with this character. But the not so good thing about him is you don't actually get his shots from the shop, so you have to rely on gacha luck to upgrade this character and not get stuck. So that's one thing to take note. But he is hands down the best tank in the game, at least in the current stage of the game. So moving forward in the future, things might change, but I'll cover that as well. So that's for the future stuff. Right now, for CVT purpose, this is one of the strongest tank around. Then Igor, very disruptive. This unit will be jumping around his tombstones. So what he does is he will summon a tombstone when his enemy's HP drops below a certain threshold, jumps around, inbound, throws his AoE ultimate to disrupt the front line. So more like a semi-tank. You need some build up for him, but it's very annoying, and he's going to be a very annoying unit to deal with, at least for the AFK challenges, because all the units will be very overstated, and this unit performs very well when he's overstated. So that's why he's here. And that's for the tank side. Healers wise, I'm gonna put our dear Rowan, Heron, as well as Smokey. Oh wait, there's another tanker I would like to give a special mention, our dear Antandra over here. So if you want to go for a cheaper option in a tank side, Antandra is really good for the tank side because she provides a shield, damage reduction, taunt, which is basically what a tank would need. So strictly for story progression per se, she's amazing, but she's not as good for the other contents because maybe for Battlefield she's okay because she taunts the enemy, but she doesn't provide damage. She's a very defensive tank. If you compare all these tanks together, these 4 tanks are tanks which can tank up and they can do other stuff, whereas Antandra is a pure tanker. So very good for content pushing, but maybe not as good for scaling in other game modes. But the thing is, because for the A level characters, right, you already have Eddie, and you also have Kruger, which is a niche character where people want to upgrade. So you might not be able to invest in the shots for her as much. So that's where she is, I'll say, like competing for resources. But if you do need a tank and you're not planning to build Eddie, she is a pretty hot and good option out there, very cheap as well. So yeah, just gonna put her here. So for the healer side, we have Rowan, we have Smokey, and our dear Heron. Heron is hands down the best healer because she heals a lot. She heals in the global range, very powerful early to late game. And then Smokey, very a good healer that provides a bit of offensive prowess. His ultimate allows him to summon this cloud around him and then heal up your team while providing haste, which is offensive prowess. For Rowan's case, right, Rowan is a battery slash healer, so the ultimate actually charges up the energy for your whole team, but Rowan's second skill and third skill offers this potion ability which heals up the enemy that is within radius. So semi-healer on there, and he's pretty much a top tier character in the various game mode because he's the only battery in the game which allows your team to use the skills faster. So a lot of synergy with a ton of other stuff in the game, and that's why he's here. Very good. If you ask me, I'll say these 3 units, they are top tier units which I'll recommend everyone to build because yeah, I'll explain more in the coming videos, but They are simply very, very powerful units that makes your life a lot easier. Then you throw in a tank like either Brutus or maybe like Torrent, and then you're pretty much good to go. You have 3 units in your team ready already. You can in fact build 2 of these carries at the same time simultaneously, so you already have 4 units from there. So these units, they are basically your top tier content pushers. And the other units which I would like to include in my honest take as a special mention is Laika. So this unit is basically a utility DPS which offers AoE, defense reduction, haste for your team. Very useful for multiple contents in terms of team building, but doesn't really excel specifically, because if you're talking about debuffing, Kruger is a little bit better. This Wolfman over here. If you're talking about AoE damage, there's a bunch of units that does a lot of AoE damage. Hasting, you have Smokey, you have other units which provide haste for the team. But Laika is simply like this jack of all trades that has a lot of good thing going for her, and you can use her in multiple teams. So very, very good content pusher as well. So that's basically for the top tier units. These are units which are, I'll say, in general, easier to build up and do what they do best, and very good even in an understated situation. So that's why they're here. Then next, let's talk about some of the strong units. So we have Merrily. So this unit, right, is, I'll say, in the category of the carries for their respective factions. So this, and this, they are the carries. But the thing is, she is not exactly very beginner friendly, and she doesn't offer much outside of damage. She's a pure damage dealer, which will shine in a mega late game. But in terms of early to mid game content progression, not exactly as strong as the mentioned carries on top. So I'm putting her in a strong category. You can definitely use her. She will definitely do damage and she will carry you in certain situations. But her jumping around, right, is means she's less auto friendly, and you need to, I'll say, like, be more hardcore in terms of your gameplay to get more out of her. So that's why she's here. Corin, pretty decent as well. Same thing as Merrily. This unit has shielding damage, but they're going to be jumping around a lot, so not exactly the most beginner friendly character. You do need some understanding for the game to do a team build around them to make them really good, but they are amazing in the late game. By the way, these 2 units, they are amazing in the late game, just that not as much in the early to mid game, so they're not your top tier content pushers, and that's why I'm putting them here. Then we have our dear Caroline. Okay, so this unit is arguable because she is one of the strongest mage team carries you can have, right? And I've seen some amazing things that she can do, but you do require a bit of investments for her, and you don't actually get her from a shop, so it's not easy to upgrade her. So she's strong with her freezing ability, with her magic reduction, with her massive damage potential, but it's going to be very hard to train for her. So this is just a warning. That's why I'm just going to put her here. Very strong, but require quite a bit of investment and might not turn out as strong as like some of the easier to invest units on top. Then we have Arden. Arden is an AoE damage dealer that has the ability to root the enemies. Very, very good. But compared to, like, for example, the likes of our dear Brian, is less explosive. Brian is a single target AoE, so I mean interchangeable in a way, but I mean personally I will prefer Brian over Arden, right, over any day, because Brian does just a lot of damage and allows you to push through certain contents, whereas Arden requires a little bit more stats to function, because AoE units, they tend to deal less damage per unit, so you need quite a bit of stats in order for them to scale up to do what they need to do. But this unit is also another late game beast with the disruption ability and the damage potential, and combined with Caroline, it's some of the strongest late game mage teams around. That's why he's here. But in terms of the content pushing, like I mentioned, which is more early to mid game oriented, less so. So I would recommend you guys to build for them, or you can build for him, but not the topmost priority if you want to push through content. So Arden is here. On a similar note, Miral is also pretty powerful as a magical damage dealer. But she's a little slow. Like her ultimate requires a little bit of energy, but the numbers are big. So if you do get to get her work, she's able to push you contents as well with her massive damage numbers. But yeah, bit of stats, a bit of team building effort, and you need to buy a little bit more time for her to do what she needs to do. The other strong character in the Mauler faction is Seth. Seth is a unit that steams roll once he's able to build up his stacks for his lifesteal, for his attack speed, and pretty decent. That has a weakest enemy targeting, which makes him a good unit for even arena as well. I think in fact he's a lot better for arena compared to the other game modes, but pretty strong character and also pretty easy to build up. Very accessible from the shop, so you can definitely try to use him. Maybe less effective compared to Eddie, but definitely has his role in like being a sniper, warrior, frontliner kind of character. So over here, yeah, that's pretty much it for the strong characters. The rest of the other characters, they're either very niche or... Oh, Shakir, I kind of forgot about this unit. So this unit is a unit which is very difficult to invest in because similar to Torrent, similar to Caroline, you don't actually get to buy them from the shop. So you might get shut stuck, but this unit does have its usage with range defense buff, as well as damage reduction aura, as well as the AoE damage prowess. This unit can be very strong if you do manage to build it up. But because of how hard it is to build this unit up, like if this unit is accessible within the shop, I'll definitely put him on top. But because it is a lot harder to build him up, I'm going to put him just in a strong category. You can definitely build him up if you do manage to get multiple copies of him, and he will definitely perform. So that's why this unit is here. So that's for the strong side. For the niche side, we have Kruger. This unit is strictly Dream Realm focused. Every other game mode is not that good. Like one of the strongest debuffer in the game, so very good for bossing content, very good for damage related content, but pretty much stops there. So that's for the niche side. And since we're on the topic of niche, we have some very niche arena units. So we have our dear Vala and Selvina. These are your backline snipers. Very arena centric, not recommended for beginners, at least for beginners to do their story progression. Like you can invest in all this top tier content pushing, you can still play arena and you can do story, but if you invest in them, they are not going to be as good for the story side. So these are niche, very, very good backline snipers. Then on the topic of niche units, we have Valen, we have Salazar, we have Aaron, we have Kafra, and yeah, so these 4 units per se, they do their own stuff really well. These 2 units are more so for damage. Iron and Kafra more so for disruption, but they don't have inbuilt tankiness. Okay, Arrow has a shielding, but it's very pathetic. So what happens for these 4 melee units is that their AI will force them to charge in front, and them being understated will cause them to die really easily before doing anything. So not exactly the best for contents, but if you do manage to build them up for what they need to do in the other game mode, they are decent there. Not so much for content pushing. Sorry for that. So that's for this for warrior like root like character. Then Viperon, yeah, like this unit actually fell off a lot. Like I don't see this is a win more unit, so the longer this unit stays on the battlefield, the better. But yeah, I don't see a lot of people using, although there's a lot of theory crafting going on. So I don't recommend newbies to go for this unit. Same thing for Santandra. A lot of theory crafting going on, but she is a unit with this charm ability as well as a damage boost ability for your team. But I don't see a lot of people using them. So very theory craft based, definitely has potential to do what they need to do. Disrupt, damage boost, do damage in the AoE manner, but not recommended for beginners at the very least. So these 2 units, niche. Okay, Ella as well as Atlanta, they are very niche as well. To a certain extent, Ella, this Crystal Maiden-like character, has a lot of potential with the damage boost that she can offer for the carry, but there are just so many good boosters out there that I feel that she's just way too niche to do what she does. In fact, you can even put her in filler, but she does have some offensive prowess with her ultimate to reposition and do damage at the same time. Then Atalanta is a unit which is very gimmicky, but if you do manage to pull her off, she actually shines really well in the arena as well. Subjective, and because you don't actually get her shards from the shop, so it's also very hard to upgrade. So she's like maybe even a filler, like in some cases. But just gonna put her in niche. If not, there's a bunch of Lightbringer fillers as you guys will see later. So yeah, these two units, they are pretty niche by nature. Then let's go on to the filler. Okay, I kind of slipped off one unit, right? I'll put Lucius here. So in case you guys realize on top, right, we don't have a Lightbringer tank. That is because the Lightbringer has two tanks right now. One is this guy with a shield, obviously the tanker, and the other one is this horse lady over here. So this unit is your standard tank, right? Provides shield for your team, heals up himself, taunt the enemy, push the enemy back. So he's strong in terms of doing a tank role in your content pushing. And this unit over here, Timasia, she's a disruptive tank. She runs around, mini stuns the enemy, runs into the back line, doesn't have a lot of defensive skill to protect herself, and that's why this unit is a filler, because what happens in most cases is that she will charge into her own death. Doesn't do much from there. So that's why I'm putting her here. And if you were to compare between these two tanks, Lucius is definitely the more beginner friendly, the easier to use tank, the more standard tanky tank on the front line, hold for as long as possible unit. So that's why he's strong. So he's over here. Kind of forgot about him, but that's basically for the strong side. Then for filler, I explained her already. Just way too gimmicky, right? And the other fillers, you guys will see there's like so many Lightbringers. So Chirpy and Hemi, unfortunately, they are hamsters that you cannot upgrade beyond the lowest tier, so their stats will lose out and they are basically fillers character. Then for Faye, she's a healer, but there's so many good healers on top, and there are some units that does the healing and shielding job in the strong category and even the niche category that I think Faye is just very outclassed, and that's why she's a filler in my honest opinion. So for the tank, we have our dear Lumon. So this unit is a disruptive tank. So this unit charges around, deals damage to the enemy, repositions them, and has a shielding ability which makes himself tankier. But yeah, if you're understated, you charge into enemy lines, you just die pretty easily. So it's kind of counterproductive. That's why it's filler. Then we have Niru, we have Parvis, I think her name is Parvis. They actually changed her name. We have Damien as well. So Niru is this unit that keeps your other units alive by turning them to spirits, but simply useless for story content pushing, like and not really exactly that good in the different game modes, except for some maybe like arena potential. So that's why this unit is here. And this unit is a buffer which sort of got changed out a little bit, and it's just a single target buff compared to Laika's AoE buff and like a bunch of other buff from Rowan or Smokey, which is more team based by nature. This unit really fails in comparison. Then for Damien's case, people can argue that Damien is strong as well, because this unit offers, I'll say, like a little bit of everything, damage, stun, but you do need a bit of investment in this unit for him to actually do anything much. And what happens to this unit is that he'll hide in the back line and then summon a chariot to fight in his place. So technically the chariot is like a 0.5 stated unit, which is not very good in the early game. Maybe in the mid game you'll start shining a bit, but I'm just gonna put him in the filler side because I really don't think that this unit is good. So if you guys do want to give this unit a try, you can try it out. Like, there is definitely some potential, but not a good unit in my honest opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the tier list. Let me regroup the unit based on the class per se. So yeah, that's the completed tier list. Basically, this tier list is more catered towards new players that wants to experience as much as possible while not being too frustrated by being stuck behind certain contents. So invest in all the top units, the strong units, so it's easier for you to move through the stages. Once you understand the game better, the niche unit will come into play and they'll be good in the various other game modes or doing what they need to do in specific game content. So yeah, that's it for this tier list. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe in order to see more AFK Journey content from the channel, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!